The only other new thing you're really going to be learning in 9.6 is how to identify conic sections when they're maybe an xy term. So if you look at the equation you get here, you have ax squared plus bxy plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. So the big thing to know here is you really need to know this table that's given to you. You are going to have to do this for your test. When there's an xy term, you can use your discriminant to identify the conic. So if there's not an xy term, then what you're going to do is you're going to use just your a and your c. So if your a is equal to c, then you're going to get a circle. If your a and c are not equal and b is not equal to 0, then you're going to get an ellipse, and that is if your discriminant is also less than 0. But if a doesn't equal c, but you still have a plus sign, and you're going to have an x squared and a y squared, and they're both positive, then you're going to get an ellipse. But maybe one of them has a different number besides a 1, or they're not, just a and c are not the same. You will get a parabola also. The main way you can notice if you get a parabola is if you look at you're either going to have a or c is going to be equal to 0. So if a or c is equal to 0, then you're going to get a parabola. That just means you only have one x squared term. And then the other thing is if you have a hyperbola, the biggest thing to look for is you're going to have a minus sign in front of your x squared or your y squared. So let's look at our first example. Alright. If we look at our first, for our example, analyze your equation of a conic section, we got to determine whether this is a parabola, circle, ellipse, or hyperbola. You don't even have to write it in standard form. So if you look at the your x squared and your y squared, so here is your y squared term, here's your x squared term. Well, big thing to notice here is you actually have a minus. So since you have a minus sign, that means that you're going to end up with a hyperbola. And remember, you don't have to put these in standard form. You're just going to determine by looking at your A and your C what's going on here. If you look at, for example, B, 3B, then you look at your x squared and your y squared. Well, they both have a positive 2 out front. So since you have your A is equal to C, that means you're going to end up with a circle. It can't be a parabola because you have both an x squared and an a squared. It can't be a hyperbola because there's no negative in front of either one of them, and it has to be it can't be an ellipse because your a is equal to c. Last thing for 3c here is you're going to be looking at your y squared and looking through, no other x squared. So if you don't have an x squared, that must mean that you have to have a parabola. So in this case, you would say you have a parabola, and the reason is because you are missing an x squared, which means that your big A is equal to 0.